Okay, now that we have a basic idea of structure, which I use a very basic version of structure, and we have an idea of the cycles, I'm just going to use this video to practice majorly the cycles, not the structure, and show you how I would start a structure or start a cycle and so on and so forth, and proceed to label everything correctly. Now, I am still learning, I am still theorizing. So, what I said, I want to start a cycle. And we change character, and we change direction, and we go from a bullish to bearish to a bullish sentiment. At the moment where a protected high or low, in this case, a protected high is crossed by this candle here, then we have a change of character. Then I want to start my wave count, my cycle count. There's a few other factors involved. I don't know if I want to say it right now, but you know what? Yeah. Let's say it right now. No. I'm gonna start this cycle. I'm gonna start this wave cycle. So technically, I'm gonna start it right here. And how do I find my wave two? So remember, we have to go from uh, wave one, wave two, wave three, wave four, wave five. Okay. So I want to see how do I find my wave two? Since we already know where we're starting wave one, like I said, when we have this change of character, this change of direction, we start from the lowest point between the two to start at wave one. So we start wave one here. So wave one starts here. Okay. Where do I want to find my wave two? So a simple way to do wave two, again, I want to keep in mind that Elliott wave and cycles and even structure are things that morph and can bend. Everything's not rigid. Some things can be moved and adjusted if they don't apply to what you're doing and saying. So what I want to say is, my wave two, I go like this. I want to see a two-step down. What is a two-step down? Since we started from here, I want to see a high, a low, a high, a low. Okay, do I see that here in this space? Yes, I do see this here in this space. I see a high here. I color that in blue. See a high here, a low here, a high here, a low here. Now let me get my thing to tell me my highs and lows and have it so that I can actually see it. Oh, we can't see it. We can't see it this far back. Whatever. We get a high, a low, a high. Now we want to make sure that we have a full two-step. So I want this secondary low to be lower than the first low. So is this low lower than this low? The answer is yes, protruding. So we get, again, a high, a low, a high, and this low is lower than the first low. I'm going to call that my wave two. Right? I'm going to call that my wave two, and I'm going to label it right on the screen here as my wave two. Wave two. So, okay, wave two right here. This little section is wave two. This little section is my pullback in here. So, because wave two is a correction or a pullback. You get an impulse, a pullback, an impulse, a pullback. Wave four is also a pullback and then an impulse. So I want to say this is my wave two here because it met the minimum requirements of having a two-step. 1, 2, that's all it required for a two. We get this first part and a two-step pullback. 1, 2, 3. Boom, bam, bang. This, again, this low here is higher than this one. So this low, this low here is higher. This low here is lower than this one. So I have a requirement of 2. So far I have wave 1, check. Wave 2, check. I need to find wave 3. Now, how do I find wave 3? Technically, once this right here gets over this part here, this high here. So once this final leg here and this wave 2, to figure out wave 2, is higher than the beginning of that part here, then I consider it wave 2. So that means technically from here is where wave 3 starts. From here is where wave 3 starts. How do I find and verify wave 3, the end of wave 3, and stuff like that? How do I verify it and figure it out? So there's another thing which I don't feel like ever is explained anywhere, but in my findings, I find that in order for me to find out where wave 3 has happened officially and ending and so on and so forth, how I figure that out is what I want to see is an oversell on the RSI. So the RSI has 2 major spots. This is 70 over the RSI, and this is 30. This top line is 70, and this lower line is 30. And when we were at that level, and when we were at 70 or over, we are oversold. Or we are below at 30 or low 30, we're undersold, right? So for us to be in a wave 3, or nearing the end of wave 3, to thinking wave 3 is going to come, the cycle is coming towards an end, we have to have been oversold at one point in this cycle. So this is the beginning of the cycle. We are not really worried about it technically. Again, this is a probability. It could just fail. It could just fail, pooper, like it could just be done. We theoretically are not nearing the end of wave 3. So wave 3 started here. We're not nearing the end of wave 3 until we're oversold. Theoretically. Again, I'm still learning. I made a little indicator on here to make it easier for me to see. So when I see this here happen, this is a little dark, isn't it? When I see this gray bar pop up on my screen, it should match this. And it matches this. Right? It matches this. So now that I know that, all right, we're getting interested in seeing that this cycle should end, right? So to me, I've already labeled this a wave 1, this first one, this is a wave 2, and then we're in the wave 3 from here to here, where's wave 3. This is wave 3 here, right? So now I still have to find a wave 4. And this is where things get kind of interesting and murky. Wave 4. So I use way to find wave 4 is just like wave 2. I need a 2-step down, but this 2-step has to, what ICT will call, what I would call a market structure shift. And a market structure shift is interesting because to me, all a market structure shifts means is, see how this candle here, this green candle here, let's get zoomed right in there. See how this candle here is not covered up on the left of it, directly to the left of it is a wick. Okay, there's no wick that's covered. If this wick was over here like this, over here, then I wouldn't count this as a potential area to market structure shift. because this wick will be in the way. But since it's not, since you can see the side of this candle, right? And then now it goes up the high and it's crossed over here. So in this example, this market structure shift happens at a change of direction, but not always happens like that. So all I need is this candle to have you can see the side of it, then there's a high, then there's a low, and then that high gets taken out by a close. Now this becomes an area where we can market structure shift. And in this case, it is both a market structure shift and a change of character. If you know what I mean. It's both. So right here, only when I have a market structure shift and again a two-step, I call it a two-step, but it's really 4 points. 1 point here, meaning a high, a low. In this case, you could probably use high, low, this low. So you use this high, this low, this high, this low. I need that to happen through this market structure shift. Only if it is also oversold. So this gray bar, this gray highlight here, and this verifies that lines up. Those things happening at the same time. The oversell on the RSI, the market structure shift right here, and the 4 points here, the high here, going through this market structure shift, low, high, low. Now I have what I consider a wave 4. We have this secondary correction here, this flag here. And then now I need to find a wave 5. In this example, this is indeed like the Wyckoff secondary example, where it fails, the falling wave 5, which means it's not going to protrude in any significant way over the top of wave 3. So this is the top of wave 3 right here. This one, in this example, it looks to appear, in hindsight, we can see it, that it's a falling. It does not compete with the top of this, right? So it's a falling wave 5. So it's not going to be like the Elliott wave example of where the so that's why information between Wyckoff and Elliott differs, because like I said, you'll most likely always see Elliott wave in examples that they give you when anyone's teacher, always expressed like this, pretty much. But in some cases, as we know from Wyckoff, because Wyckoff is also it's a cycle. A lot of times it could be like this, right? It could be just like this. The thing is, this can get very abstract, and then we could have it be like, this, like I said, it could be a short wave 3 here, and then we get this here. It can be very abstract even further. I'm going too much in this, but 1, 2, 3, and 4 could kind of dip into this and then do that. Even though technically, like I said in the previous video, that wave 4 should not be in here, sometimes it can. It's just how you plan it. So what I would say is, ideally you want it like this or like this. This is my favorite version because a lot of times I trade this coming down. So these are the two that are the main ones. And then these are some other ones. There's multiple different versions. These aren't the only 2 variations. There's probably a million different variations of this. Nothing's going to look exactly the same. But in this, just to make it clear, I have my wave 1 here. This is my wave 2 that came down. So wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. To me, this is probably wave 5 here. Wave 5 here. So let's clean this up a little bit. So I got my 2-step here initially, because this low secondary low is lower than this first one. So I'm going to call this my wave 2. We started the wave cycle here. We go up and we have a 3. We have signs of the 3 ending because of the RSI being over. So this gray highlight represents what this is doing down here. Just makes it easier for me to see that I don't have to look down and squint. Okay. We get a secondary 2-step. So this is a pullback 1. 2 is a pullback. 2 and 4 are a pullback. Wave 2 and 4 are both pullbacks. They're the regroups, they're the consolidations, the pullbacks. So we have this pullback, and then we have this pullback. That's wave 4. How do I know when we have the wave 5? Again, it's tricky. Wave 5 can come up and over this high, or it could fail to do so, which in this case, it fails to do so right here. So to keep labeling it, we did wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will be wave 5. It's a falling wave 5. Now the rest of it gets kind of advanced, and I don't know how to explain it exactly. To explain it exactly, so I get in trouble. But what I'll do right here is I'll sort of explain, because this is only half of the cycle. And every cycle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, theoretically. And then there is the correction of that. Okay, A, B, C, right? And again, the C should be lower than this, theoretically. And this is how trading works. Trading is all fractal. Excuse me, all fractal. Oh my gosh, what is it not? Why is it not moving? Yeah, all fractal. So what I mean by that is this representation of this is a full cycle, right? But technically, what that means is each one of these are cycles. What I mean, each one of these. This is a cycle. This is a cycle. This is a cycle. So wave 1 and wave 2 is a full cycle. Wave 3 and wave 4 is a full cycle. And then 5 and its correction for the whole entire thing is a cycle. It's all a cycle. You know what I'm saying? They're all going through cycles, phases, fractal in that nature. And they should have similar effects within them. But I guess I should leave it right there because the rest of it, you know what? That's not true. Let me see how long is this video? How do I tell how long the video is? I don't know. I'll go through another example. So, right, that's probably a good idea. But sometimes you don't always get fully formed waves, and sometimes the wave set can be, a lot of it can happen before we actually have the change of direction. So technically, I can't start the cycle till here. So we have this start of it, and this is where we have a change of direction. I technically cannot start this cycle until, I'm going through this example, then I'll stop it here. I cannot start this cycle until we have this change of direction. But we can have a lot of the elements before that even happens. So we started here. What do I need? I started here. This is wave 1. I need a 2-step backwards. So we had a bullish flip here. This was a bullish flip around. This is a bearish flip around. So on a bullish one, we needed a 2-step down for our 2. So we had to flip it. We get up, then need a 2-step down. For the bearish one, we need a 2-step up. So where do we get that 2-step up? This one here is a 2-step up. So that means this is wave 1 here, right? And until this low is taken over, we don't have wave 2. So this part starts 2, but now that we have this come down over here, this whole section is wave 2. This whole section is wave 1, right? That means that this is the start of wave 3, the start of wave 3. So you can ignore these highlights in the middle, because when we are trying to come down, we can't look for a 3 until we at least have a wave 2. So this, we're going to ignore this because this happens before we even have wave 2. Now, when we get over here and we have 2 and now it's oversold, now we have to start being concerned that this run could be ending. This run could be ending. Some things just tell you that it's not ending is two things. The relativity of it all. This is big. So you think if it ends here, it's kind of not, doesn't make sense. But anyway, I digress from that because that's something else. So we get here to try to end wave 3. We can only end wave 3. We can only end wave 3 when there's a 4 that happens potentially. So what do we need for a 4? Just like when we had wave 2, we did a 2-step up. I keep calling it 2-step, but it's 4.1, 2, 3, 4. So, but it has to happen at an RSI, and it has to have a market structure at the same time. So, what are areas where we can have a market structure shift? What are the areas where we can have a market shift? Not here, because sure there's a high here, right? So let me just delete this. Sure there's a high here, but you can't see the backside of this through this too, so this doesn't count. Here's the next potential candidate. Next potential candidate is here, right? And so it crosses that. But right here, we do not get a 2-step. You know what I'm saying? So we go from here, we get from here, we get here, but this doesn't cross yet. We get closed down below here, right? So now we have to reset that 4 points. We have to restart it because it didn't finish. It got closed below. So then we start the new count from here, but there's no high here, right? There's no high here. So all we have here is a low, a high. But we need a low, a high, a low, a high in the market structure shift. So this whole area, even though it looks like it did something, it didn't meet the requirements. Again, we would need to have a low, a high, a low, a high. Here we got a low, a high, a low, no high. Here we came through, we got a low, a high. We didn't get a low, high, low, high. So there we cannot say we have a 4. We cannot say we have a 4. We just keep coming down. So it's good to like mark your target. So this line will count as a market structure shift if it were to get crossed. This line will count as a market structure shift if it were to get crossed. This line would count as a market structure shift as if it were to get crossed. Why? Again, to explain it, we have this backside here, and it's low. Then it makes a high. Then it makes it low. So similar to a change of character if it were to happen, but not always the case. When purpose, it's not always the case. It has to be a change of character. If I get an example, I'll show it, but I don't see anything here. But if these highs get crossed, then we have a market structure shift. So again, but none of these are being crossed. It keeps pulling. When we have a lot of these that aren't crossed, this is also a good indication that we are definitely in a 3. We already know that we are, but this is very here. We're in a 3. And so that's potential. We're getting close. We're getting towards the end here. This one doesn't count because here we get this backside, yeah, makes it low. This had to get crossed because it does not, we cannot count this as the market structure shift area. So this just makes this a target. We keep moving until we find it. And then it keeps moving until we find it. This has to be crossed, not crossed. This has to be crossed, not crossed. Just be careful because you got to check this. This might count. We got to see if this candle's low is 200. This closes at 715.045. This low is 715, 200. So yes, this candle here is lower than this candle here. So now when we have a high, preferably before this gets closed below, that's what I mean. This technically would count as a market structure shift. This low made a high and was closed under. So that last one would have made this a target to be available for market structure shift. So what do we have? We need a 4. What do we need for a 4? Again, we need for a 4. Wave 4 requirements. Just to write it down. We need, not in any particular order, but obviously we need to have a record. We need to have all the steps between. So we already had a change of direction, wave 1, yada yada yada, wave 2, yada yada yada, wave 3, yada 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 yada. It's not important. I don't care about that. Yeah, we technically have to have those. And then what I mean is specifically for a wave 4, what we need is to be oversold on the oversold, overbought, depending on what cycle we are on the RSI. At the same time, there is a market structure shift. While also getting a two-step or two-step, I was gonna leave it a two-step through that market structure shift. Again, I'm just gonna call it two-step because that's what I call it every day. So in this 4, this is the most important kind of one here. Number 2 is kind of the most important one here, because obviously you're gonna have these. If you got this far, but I'm saying here, wave 2. So right here, do we have what is set into? Are we oversold on the RSI? Yes. What I mean oversold. What do I mean by oversold? This high that produces this two-step, this one step, 2 steps. That this low, that produces this 2-step, is it oversold? Okay. Yes, it's oversold. This high, this 3 candle pattern, 1, 2, 3, this high, is it oversold? And did it produce a 2-step through a market structure shift? We have check, check, and check. So to me, I have a 4. I have a wave 4. As we can see, price continues to go down, right? Price continues to go down. That's unfortunate. Well, let's put the non-mean on here to kind of get an idea of what's happening. Because just because it went down doesn't mean that the cycle was incorrect. Hold on. So 1, 2, 3. Just because it's such a big wave. Let me go a little bit bigger on that. Let's go keep it blue. So I need to stretch this down. Because wave 3 technically through here, we're saying this is wave 3 here. We have wave 4 here. Oh, no, excuse me. I put that in the wrong spot. And the wave 3 is here. We're saying that this is wave 4. And then ultimately, we're probably going to say I'm not finished yet. We get this to wave 5. And I'm not going to go through the advanced stuff yet. But this is how I see it. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, which is a huge, gigantic wave. Okay, wave 4 is this here, and wave 5 retreats. So this is going to be more or less like this example. If we go to the bullish version, which protrudes. So in this one, we don't get this protruding spring. In the next example, we don't get the protruding spring. In this example, we do get the protruding spring. Now, I guess I forgot to mention that there's also there's not only there's 2 different cycles, there's 2 different things that could happen after a cycle. Either it could completely reverse, as in this one did. So this most likely was a cycle here that ended, and this one went to a cycle, and this completely reversed, completely changed like direction on a higher time frame, whatever it did, and it reversed. But it also can just be and so like this is that we did earlier. This was a complete reversal, it looks like. And this example that we're doing now, it could just be a pause and a reaccumulation. So yeah, it's going to complete the rules for the cycle, but it may not go very far because it's only redistributing in this case. What I mean, and how can you tell that's going to happen? Sure, this is going to have some kind of responsive reaction, a very shallow one, but you can kind of tell this would happen because this is such a big wave 3. The momentum for this is so big that you doubt this is going to reverse once it hits this, right? Not reverse. Like he's not. Yeah, he doubt it's going to reverse. You can already kind of tell that. So if you're trying to take a trade up here, you can't expect much for this to go up. It's not going to reverse. It's just going to regroup and then go down further. But let me go through all the steps. So just to verify that this is what it is. And like I said, I don't want to go into a full example here. This looks like it failed, but technically it did. It just didn't reverse here. It redistributed here. I guess I could stop there because we have the way. And I want the next video. I just want to keep labeling cycles endlessly, over and over and over again. But here's wave 1. Get a 2-step here for wave 2. None of these met the requirements for a microstructure shift. We didn't actually get it till down here. And this is where price we would have some kind of reaction to go up here. And this is more or less our area where we complete the cycle with our ABC. This is our ABC. And what happened is it must have redistributed here and regrouped to go down a little lower. And to the example we did earlier, it finished here, and this one it reversed. And a lot of times you're going to see that. A lot of times you're going to see, if price is moving, you're going to see something like this. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then what's next? Because this is half the cycle. This is half the cycle. So you're going to see the rest of the cycle either do this 1, 2, ABC. So from here, it can do two different things. This is the cycle. From here, it can do 2 different things. One, so let me draw another cycle. So let me do this. Right? Just to visualize it for you. And it's A, B, C, right? So from the end of this cycle, it can do 2 different things depending on what's happening in the momentum from the higher time frame. From here, and it's going to look weird, it could either reverse, have a complete reversal, or it can have what would be the equivalent fractionally as a small regroup period of a correction in that cycle. Every cycle is going to have a correction of some kind, and then continue. So, um, so right here, this first example number 1 and number 2, from this point of this C, so just two points. But basically from the C, two things that can happen. One, it reverses. This is the reverse. This is the complete reverse. Reverse. All right. So that's one example it could do at the end of the cycle. The second is from here, it could just keep going lower. So what here was is what's called I guess a Wyckoff. It's a redistribution. It's a redistribution. And a bullish example, it would be called a reaccumulation. And this one is a redistribution. And that's the second example. So on here, it most likely just redistributed. And what does this mean to visually put it? Like I said, everything's fractal. So we see this here as a complete cycle here on this time frame, right? This is a complete cycle. On a higher time frame, this might have only been wave 2, right? On a higher time frame, like I can't see it. I can if I go to another one, I gotta find it, but just visualize with me. On a higher time frame, this is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and the shallow 5 on a higher time frame. So the reason why we didn't get a reversal here is because reversal here on our smaller time frame right here is because it was just redistributing on the highest fractal on the higher time frame. We were trading inner. This is probably a 2. You know what I'm saying? This is probably just a 2 on the higher time frame. And then we had a rising 5 here on the higher time frame. So right here it reversed because we were at the end. It reversed on our time frame because we were at the end of a higher time frame. You know what I mean? We were at the end of a higher time frame. So that's why you see this here, and you can say this failed. Yes, from a movement standpoint, it failed, but not from a cycle standpoint. What you want to see is that it worked from a cycle standpoint. Now, cycles will fail. Cycles will do absolutely nothing. Either 3 things can happen when a cycle fails. 1, you miss something. You label something incorrectly. 2, the higher time frame is moving so powerful that it may have corrected, but did the bare minimum. And then 3, hey, life happens. It fails. Every trade's not going to work. Every structure is not going to work. Every cycle is not going to work. It's just sometimes it happens. What you want to do is you want to be able to skillfully know where you are to minimize and notice when stuff is going to absolutely fail. Minimize just complete failures. The other stuff, you got to be nimble and quick. So like this, theoretically, if I could see all things, I should see that this should be, if I'm trying to take a trade up from here, I should see that I shouldn't expect it to be going up high. So if I want to trade this, either I don't trade this, or I say, let's be nimble and be quick. So I would have probably tried to trade, to be honest, I would have probably tried to trade with this from here, to be honest, probably from here to about here. And it would have failed. This would have failed. What I would have had to have done was try to save face, because through here we're in legal positioning. So I could have either just said, you know what, it's bad trade, or I could have doubled down, regrouped, and got in where, because there's an advanced way to do this where you actually get confirmation, and this confirmation would actually fail too. by the way. The cycle follows the rules, but you would then secondary trade would have been like this, and now you're in the real bad position because you lost money here. But technically, you shouldn't be after in the hindsight seeing the whole picture from the higher time frame. You should not be getting into this. But this is an explanation of what's happening in the cycles. In the next video, I'm gonna just label cycles over and over and over again, continually.